All right. This is a stream for all of you insomniacs out there. A little late night Drums and Drams Thursday night live stream. And hey, we got 30 in here already, which I think is kind of shocking considering the fact that I put this thumbnail up like 15 minutes ago. So thank you guys for jumping in right now. This is going to be a stream as normal, as usual. I'm going to try to, I say this every week, try not to go for 2 hours, but you know, we'll see what happens. There's going to be a giveaway. It's not anything crazy tonight, so you know, it's not like a $200 bottle or anything like that. But I am going to type this out and get this banner up and then talk about it very quickly. Just at the beginning of the stream, I'll continue reminding everybody as we get going here. But the reason that I'm late tonight, I was just playing a show for the Columbus Symphony. We were doing a donor event, so kind of like a small intimate concert. Very, very cool location here in Columbus. If any of you guys live here, it's right across from the new Crew Stadium called the Municipal Light Plant. Just a great gig. You know, it was a kind of like a fundraiser event, you know, kind of an education event, this kind of thing. And I'm totally wiped out, but I'm gonna keep the energy up on this stream. Give me just a second. I'm gonna type this out. Gets you one giveaway entry for a bottle of Larceny Barrel Proof C922. Second place sample pack. Okay. There we go. Save. We're going to scroll this across the bottom of the screen now. So yeah, tonight's giveaway, before we get into it here very, very quickly, it's a bottle that you guys know that I love, the Larceny Barrel Proof C922. I'm going to give one of these away tonight. I don't expect a ton of super chats, especially on a late stream like this, so I thought I would just go for a slightly less crazy bottle for the giveaway. In second place, we'll win just a dealer's choice sample pack. I always make those things good. And the people from the last live stream who I owe giveaway stuff to, all of that is going to go out either tomorrow or Monday. So I promise you that. Life got a little busy. My patrons know I've been a little crazy the last 2 weeks, and so I'm glad to be back live streaming here with all of you. We have some things to get into tonight, all right? What a beautiful bottle. That Bunnahabhain, look at that. Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, come on. Just gorgeous next to the Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond. So we're going to start with a little bit of Scotch, okay? We're going to start with a little bit of Scotch. We're going to go to this Heaven Hill. Then I'm going to do a quick blind, a 4-pour blind, so not a 5 or a 6-pour. Keeping it nice and simple with 4. Sarah was a trooper. She was out and about tonight, got home at about 10 o'clock and poured these for me just before I got home. So I just want to say thank you, Sarah. I love you very much. Thank you for doing that. All right, so let me check the chat real quick. I need to get something in my glass, and you know, let's just start with a Scotch. Why not? Let's go with the Bunnahabhain 12. We'll talk about this. Yeah. We'll go Bunnahabhain 12 as the starter pour. I was just thinking, you know, last week I did a few Scotches. Recently I've done a few Scotches on here, and people say do more Scotch content. And because I haven't put any new videos out, I thought let's just throw a few into this live stream. So I've got the Bunnahabhain 12, I've got a Macallan 12, and I've got a Glenfiddich 15. So we'll just check these out. I mean, these are approachable, pretty available single malts that a lot of bourbon drinkers tend to go towards. So I think this is something that might make everybody happy on the stream. If you are a bourbon drinker and you want to check back in 40 minutes, you know, I understand. I totally understand, especially if another streamer's on you'd rather watch. That's not going to cover Scotch. But Mac 12 Sherry Cask, I'll talk about that. We'll start with this Bunna 12, Glenfiddich 15. As usual for the giveaway, if you guys want to, you can do super chats here. You can also... you can also go direct to PayPal or Venmo, and that's so YouTube doesn't take their cut. Helps me out, helps the channel out a little bit, and I will definitely read that out on the live stream. So as you come in, please hit that like button. I just want to say cheers. I got to get something going here. So cheers with this Bunnahabhain 12. All right. All right. Stacy, 4 Leaf Whiskey. Cheers. Just tried the Heaven Hill Bottle of Bond this week. Really like it. Okay. Yeah, I have not tasted this in quite a while, and I remember I remember a little bit of what I thought about it, but it's been a year and a half at least. I have some preconceptions. I can't lie, but I'm going to come into this with an open mind because a lot of people have been talking about this Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. The fact that it's a bottled and bond product, there certainly could be some variation because it's got to be a product of the same distillation season. So from season to season, these different blends, it could be different stuff. This is a little bit of an older bottle, but yeah, people have been talking about it recently. People still overpay for Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, the 7-year. A little shocking to me, but I'm gonna revisit it tonight. Paul Graham, holy crap, man, that is a name I have not seen in a while. Paul, cheers. Good to see you popping up here. That is awesome. John Cloud, I see you. Amy J is in the house. DeMarcus, William Hall, all the people that are just such incredible supporters of the channel. The regulars, Joe. We got James in here. Just saw the notification, had to tune in. I'm glad you're here, man. Fiji says late night cam. Yeah, late night. We'll see. Thursday stretch. Now you're living. What is up, chat? Amy with the $30 super chat. Ooh, got to win that C922. So good. Got one, and they were gone. Thank you, Amy. I'll get you in for 6 entries into the giveaway. Avery, thanks, Cam. Love watching your videos. Love the way you can remember what you've tasted. Yeah, that is one thing that there are a lot of things in life I don't remember. But somehow tasting notes do kind of stick in my brain. So I appreciate you recognizing that and calling that out. That's awesome. Ooh, if you could only pick one. I've never owned a Dalmore 12, and I think I've only tasted it once in my life. So I am not in a position to answer that. Although off the top of my head, I would probably say Mac 12. Dalmore is extremely overrated in my opinion, but maybe not all of them. I have some King Alexander. I have a sample of some King Alexander. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Maybe it's a low proof, or it's just there's so much going on with it too. There's so many, 6 different maturations in that blend. I mean, goodness. Tom Snyder, cheers, man. Dresden says the Heaven Hill Bib is a good pour. Not great, but good and enjoyable. All right, we'll see. Oh, Avery, I got your $5 Venmo super chat. I appreciate that. I got you in for one. It says, keep doing what you do. You have a gift. I appreciate that. Thank you. Tom Snyder, need to pour a good one tonight. Let me know what you end up pouring, man. All right, we're going to talk Buna 12. Mike Thompson says Dalmore is frowny face. Look, one of my first scotches that I owned was a Dalmore Portwood. The first one was incredible. For me at the time, I'm brand new to this stuff. I think at the time I had like a Lefroy 10, a Glenmoe 10. What am I thinking? Oh, the Glenmorangie, the 14-year port finish. And I got the Portwood, the Dalmore. First bottle, blew everything else out of the water. I just loved it, man. I loved port finishes. And then I got the second bottle, and it was corked. And I've never had a corked whiskey until that time. Undrinkable. Took it back. The State of Ohio Liquor Agency actually allowed me to return it, and they replaced it with the same Dalmore Portwood from the same store, clearly from the same lot of bottles. Second bottle I open, it's also corked. I mean, it's like, what are we going to do here? So after that, I stopped buying Dalmore. Stacy, thanks, Kim. We have a Mac 5, number 5. I haven't had any of those. Always been curious about Dalmore. Yeah, I think it's overrated. I mean, it's one of those bottles. It's in travel retail shops. It's for people that have a lot of money that want to show off. I think that's like those folks, and then new folks that see it and go, wow, that's a really cool looking bottle. Like, that's how I was. I think those are the people it really attracts, and everybody in between those two, the serious enthusiasts, tend to shy away from it, it seems like. Amy, I've got this. I've got the Heaven Hill 6 next to me, the old Bottled and Bond. I can pull that out when I taste it. So let's get into this Bunnahabhain 12. I'll read you on the back here what we have going on. It's a 46.3% ABV whiskey, so coming in over 92 proof is, for an entry-level Scotch, a really good sign. Solid proof point. It says our 12-year is matured in sherry, bourbon, and whiskey casks for a tranquil balance of soft, sweet fruit and nuts with a hint of seaside smoke. This is a malt with many layers to explore. So we have, sherry, bourbon, refill casks. Let's check this thing out. And let me know what you guys think of this along the way. We'll do Buna first, then we'll hit the Glenfiddich, and then we will hit the Macallan 12, and then move on to some Heaven Hill action before the blind flight. John Cloud picked up a 15-year Pinot finish. That's going to be awesome, John. I really believe so. The one I had was 13, but I can't imagine the extra age would hurt it. And Aiden, I had a gig, man. I had a conflict tonight. That's why I'm on a little bit later. Just good old me. Good evening. Also, the notification, and wanted to say hello. Cheers. All right, so Buna 12. The sherry cask influence comes through on this, right? You do get a little bit of that almond, like that Oloroso type nuttiness. And you get that kind of like golden raisin. So it's got that dry fruit note to it, but it's not super dark. There's not a lot of depth to that fruit note. It stays kind of in the mid-level of fruits. Mid-tier fruit, if that makes sense. So what that tells me is there's probably not a lot of first fill sherry cask, if any, in here. It's probably refill sherry casks. Now, distillery character on this Buna, I think it does come through. For me, I'm picking up just a tinge of like minerality, granite. This kind of note that I talk about sometimes when it's not peated, but there's just a little whiff of something in there, smoky. And it comes off to me as kind of this mineral note. Yeah. So I'm picking up on that. There's a little saltiness to this, but it's not nearly as much as like an Oban or, anything that's like the West Highlands, like the coastal distillery, stuff like that. I don't get quite that much salinity. To me, this feels like there's a lot of cask action, like a ton of influence from those casks that are giving this kind of like a sticky, fruity profile. It doesn't feel overly young. It doesn't feel too cakey, white cake I talk about sometimes as a young note. And in terms of spices, a good little bit of what feels to me to be kind of like this French oak spice, if you guys know what I'm talking about. So let's check this out on the palate now. Cheers. All right. Man. I kind of wrote Bunnahabhain 12 off in the past, and I don't know why. This is really good stuff. It strikes a really cool balance between that coastal profile, which here is very reserved. It's in the background. That coastal profile with a lot more sherry influence than I thought. After I taste it, it's got this really sticky fruitiness. Even though it's not heavy, dark, first fill sherry, it's more in that Glenfarclas. I like to talk about when there's really nice refill casks being used. I think Glenfarclas does pretty well with that for an affordable, budget-friendly single malt. This reminds me of a Glenfarclas like that. But with that tinge of coastal influence. Almost a little seaweed in this. Maybe it's kind of a weird note, but I feel like I'm getting some seaweed here. Yeah, I don't know. Really, really nice. Nice long finish to this as well. So, highly recommend. I don't know what Bunnahabhain 12 is going for these days. Let me see. It is, around 60, 50. I see 50, I see 60, I see 70 online. So, not a bad price point for what this is, especially considering this Macallan is up to about 90. We'll get to this in a second. And the Glenfiddich is probably sitting around 60, 70. And that's 3 more years of age. Lower proof. So, DeMarcus, thank you for the super chat. I'll get you in here. DeMarcus says, got you in for 4, not 234. Although that would be cool. How are you feeling about Matt Madness? The podcasters seem like tough competition. They do. They do seem like tough competition. Well, I feel good. I've been a little bit away from whiskey for the last 2 weeks, so I need to dig back into this and get ready. My competition date was supposed to be the 14th of April, and I'm not able to do that, and Matt has to move things around anyways. I think he's taking tomorrow off. If I remember from last week, I think he said that. So, it's going to be sometime in April. I need to get my act together. We'll see how I do on this blind tonight, especially considering the fact that I haven't really been doing stuff like this over the last week or two. But yeah, DeMarcus, I feel good, I feel really confident on this stuff. And I don't mean that in a cocky way. I really feel confident about my tasting abilities, and that doesn't mean that I'm immune to having just a god-awful night and scoring 0 points. That could absolutely happen too. But I do feel good. I'm trying not to be too competitive this year, but I might catch that bug. Oh, Amy says moved on to Stag Junior 11. I don't think there's going back to Scotch. Yep, no Scotch after that. Avery, what does a corked whiskey taste like? The Leopold. Well, the Leopold brothers, if you thought that was corked, it probably wasn't. It's just such a weird profile. You've got to go into that with the most open mind. But it's got that farmy, really, really craft whiskey taste that a lot of people don't like. And I had a Leopold Brothers 3-chamber, the very first release, and I got rid of it. So, if that tells you anything. Roy R., good evening to you. Boyd, hello as well. Just scrolling through here. Oh, my good Lord. Paul Mother effing Graham. Paul with a cool $100 super chat. Paul, thank you so much, man. It's good to see you back in here. And as always, man, totally unnecessary, but completely appreciated how much you support the channel. Cheers to that, dude. Thank you so much, Paul. Oh my goodness. You guys. Wow. Paul, thank you. Jeez. I don't even know what to say. Tom Snyder poured a Woodinville special cask Brett's pick. Brett Carlisle picked the barrel himself. Very cool. Keith Thompson, thoughts on Lucky 7 Frenchman. A lot of people like the Lucky 7 Frenchman. For me, the flavor feels strangely muted on the whiskey. It's like you taste it and the flavor wants to be there, but it's just not quite present. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I specifically remember how that thing tastes. I have it back there. Maybe later in the stream, we'll see. I want to take it. I want to not go so crazy tonight, but I could pull that one out, Keith. I've tasted that before up against the Penelope Architect Build 1. And I like the Frenchman better, but I still was like, yeah, this is okay. But a lot of people tend to like it, so I might be in the minority. Yeah, I love this Buna 12, guys. A lot of different things going on here. I think the first time I tasted it, I just didn't recognize the sherry influence on the whiskey as much as I should have. And now that I taste it again, highly recommend. People are saying it's around 84. Keith, that's a lot. Oh, were you talking about this? Oh, the Lucky 7 you were talking about. Yeah, 84 feels high for the Lucky 7. $70 for this Buna from Mike Thompson. Yeah, so between 50 to 70, probably more like $60 on average for this. You might say 60 for a 12-year Scotch is a lot. This thing hits above its 12-year age statement, I think. So count me in the Bunnahabhain fan club now, which I previously would have said I'm probably not a part of. Zach Jones with the best compliment ever. Holy crap, it's a good-looking Freddy Krueger. Thank you, Zach. Little Freddy Krueger. I remember Freddy versus Jason when I was a kid. I remember watching that. I loved that movie. There's Travis. Spot on, Zach. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the support. Paul, and thank you for the support. More than Zach. Telling me I look like Freddy Krueger. William Hall, cheers to Ohio. Yeah, man. Whiskey Nose, Marty, what's up, man? Hey, hey. Joe says, are you still streaming from last night? No, guys, I did do a little Patreon stream for about an hour and a half last night. And Amy, thank you for this. Guys, please hit that like button. Quick reminder about the giveaway as I pour this Glenfiddich 15, one of the bottles that got me into Scotch right here. Reminder about the giveaway. Super Chat, Venmo, PayPal, however you want to enter. Every $5 is one entry. Larceny C922 barrel proof. And there will be a second prize winner for a sample pack. Dealer's choice of some really nice samples. William Hall, yeah. The finish on the Buna gets a little bit dry, but I think there's enough sour, and the sourness from the sherry casks, the fruitiness contributes to that dryness. But I think there's enough flavor, even though it's dry, that I appreciate it. And that little lingering whiff of smoke in the background keeps it interesting, you know. Great spice, too. I like when a Scotch has that little bit of smoke, little bit of peat, but also a lot of spice, and they work together instead of fighting each other, and they help carry the whiskey from front to back and extend the finish because of it. That is a sign of a really good Scotch for me. Amy says, shh, don't tell them about the giveaway, Cam. I'm sorry, Amy. Yeah, Paul pretty much mopped the floor with everybody already. Who do we have here in the Venmo? William Molnar, what's up, man? Coming in with 20. I appreciate it. 4 entries for William Molnar. I got you in. Thank you, man, for that super chat. That's awesome. Okay. So now we're moving on to the Glenfiddich Solera 15. This warm and spicy single malt is matured for 15 years in bourbon, new oak, and sherry casks before harmonizing in our unique Solera vat. So they Solera vat this stuff. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up. It's not crazy. They're just, blending things into a giant, Solera vat. Continuously putting things in, and it sounds like with this product, they're continuously putting minimum 15-year aged whiskey from these different barrels into the vat, and then it gets bottled. That's what I'm led to believe by, what the label says here. Interesting. Roy N. just stopped by to hit that like and then heading out. Thanks, Roy. I appreciate it. Cohen. Affordable Scotch from Compass Box is great street sherried store picks for under 50. Wow. I don't know anything about that. The Compass Box is such a rabbit hole to go down, and I would like to go down that rabbit hole, actually. But all anybody needs is Spice Tree, I think. I haven't tried, a lot of the crazy stuff, the higher end, but all anybody needs is Spice Tree. Jeff Perkins, cheers all. I hope everyone's sipping on something good. I do as well. All right, so Glenfiddich 15, one of the first bottles that got me into Scotch after the peat bombs that were the very first bottles. If I could just say that this is a general smelling Scotch, that would be the best way to put it. It's a lot of... There's a lot of, spice, fruity notes and spice notes coming together here, but everything just feels so muted that all that really jumps out of the glass at me are the spice notes, and anything fruity or malty is hanging out in the background, and it's almost like, it's almost like this. It's just so muted, whereas the spice notes are maybe the only thing jumping out. I mean, and it's only 40% ABV. That's kind of to be expected at that proof. But yeah, just a super general profile of a little bit of dark fruit, a little bit of fig, a little bit of a syrupiness to it. honey notes, generalized Scotch notes, maltiness, pretty darn sweet on the nose. There's a twist of something in there sour, like a brighter fruit, pear, apple, like something along those lines, but that's not where it's focused. It smells good, but yeah, anyways. Little smokiness in that too. Just a little bit. But honestly, it's so light that it could just be considered to be like a pepper spice. It is peppery. Yeah, this is a great starter single malt, I think. Maybe even better. Like the Boona is a great bottle for anybody, beginner to advanced taster, however you classify it. I think the Glenfiddich is truly, like, if you've never had Scotch, this would be a pretty good place to start. This 15. If you're coming over from bourbon, I think this is an approachable one. If you want high proof stuff and you're coming from bourbon, this is definitely not it for you. But it's smooth. It's like the Buffalo Trace of Scotch. You could just sit and drink this with no second thought. Yeah. There's a little texture to it, like you're eating a cookie that's fallen apart. Crumbs. It's a little bit of this texture on the palate. Nothing special. It just feels a little too rounded out, but not a bad choice as a beginner single malt. A little extra proof would be interesting to see what it would taste like, though. I really like the Glenfiddich 18. That was my next upgrade after I got this 15. I went to the 18. Some more black tea notes in that. A little bit of a richer profile. Definitely still feels under proof, but that's okay. That's okay. These are meant to be very accessible bottles for a wide swath of consumers. All right, so yeah, all right. Let's get that out of here. Get a fresh glass because we can do a little side by side. And now I'm going to pour some Macallan 12. Before I do, I'll throw this up. There we go. Yeah, just a reminder, guys, please hit that like button if you don't mind. We got another Venmo super chat in here from Joe W. Thank you, Joe. Get you in for 4 entries. And Joe says cheers. And I also say cheers to that. Okay. In for 4. So here is what we are on to now. The Mac 12 Sherry Oak. In the box, it's the black box. Well, it's a little tall, but I'll angle it down so you can see. It's the black box that says rich spice dried fruits. Okay. The blue box would be the double cask, which has bourbon and sherry casks blended together. ABV on this Macallan 12 is 43% or 86 proof. And real quick, before we get into the Macallan, I was at a friend's house last night, or not last night, the other night. He's a member of the orchestra that I play with, and we talk about wine sometimes. We talk about whiskeys and different stuff. He's a little less into whiskey than he is wine, but I brought some bottles over to his house after a concert on Saturday, and he was like, "Well, hey, come check out what I've got in the cabinet first." Cool, And to my surprise, we open this cabinet, and there's a Macallan 12 early bottling. And when I say that, I mean not super early, but let's say probably early 2000s, late 2000s, before the 2010s, I would say. And he had a 2012. Let me think about this. Yes, he had a 2012 Macallan 18, so distilled in 94. So that's my birth year. These were both open, and he was willing to share. So I've tasted an old Macallan 12, early 2000s bottling before, and the cask quality of those sherry casks was just awesome. I mean, it's just great to taste those things. But this 18 being distilled in 94, I was really excited about. And I'll tell you what, I just couldn't believe it. It tasted so different than current day Macallan. When I smelled it, I could not unsmell chocolate cake and fudge brownies. It wasn't like a bunch of huge fruity notes from the sherry cask. It was all dark notes, chocolate, espresso, cake. Oh, it was just delicious. So anyways, that was a really cool experience. And again, that was Saturday. And now I'm back to this current day Macallan 12. So I'm going to taste this first, and then I can compare it very quickly to the Glenfiddich 15 just to have a point of comparison for this. Aiden, I can't put that on the screen. I mean, I could, but I'm not. All right. On the back here, Macallan Sherry Oak 12. You know, the front of these, you know, however many years ago, started saying matured exclusively in hand-picked sherry seasoned oak casks. You know, that used to not say that, but now they're saying explicitly sherry seasoned casks. On the back here, it says Macallan has been known since it was established in 1824. When matured exclusively in Oloroso sherry seasoned oak casks from Jerez, Spain, are rich, fruity, and full-bodied new make spirits transformed into a classic single malt. Okay. So first and foremost, Macallan 12, it's super nutty sherry. I'm not the biggest fan of, well, I guess, overly nutty any whiskey. Bourbon peanut is just like, I can easily have too much of it. And now with Scotch, you know, I guess I'm realizing that really almond forward Oloroso sherry finished stuff is not for me. I need more of the fruit side of the sherry and less of the nuttiness. Again, that's personal preference. I know people that love nutty sherry. This would totally be for you. Yeah, so along those lines, you get a little tire rubber on this with that nuttiness. Certainly dark fruits here. I'm going to say this is more in like, yeah, plum raisin territory. I called golden raisin earlier on the Buna. I would say this is more, yeah, regular old raisin, plum, that kind of note, a little bit darker. All right, I'm going to go in for a sip. Wow. On the palate, if you guys have ever had like Chattanooga port finish, that kind of sour, almost skunky, almost sulfury type fruit note, this comes off with that on the palate. It's kind of strange how much it tastes like that port finish. And I know it's not. I know it's sherry, but it has some of those same qualities. Yeah. And then on the lighter side of this, as I've nosed it, tasted it now, there's a little bit of like a buttered biscuit, I guess I would say. Like a little bit of this biscuity kind of note. But again, that's not the star of the show. The star of the show is the heavy sherry influence. It feels not of the highest quality, you know, especially having tasted these older Macallan 12s. The fact that the price of this is $90 to $100 in a lot of markets now, the juice is not worth the squeeze on this. I mean, it's not even close. I don't think. I would rather have something with more refill type sherry profile like the Buna 12, like a Glenfarclas. I would take any of those, even though this is trying to, with seasoned casks, achieve a heavy, like the first fill sherry vibe. It's not achieving that in a successful way. It's just feels like a little bit of a mock-up, a little bit of a trial run of that. It's like a little out of balance, and I just think, yeah, I don't know. It gets better as you sip it, and I do remember that about these Macallan 12s. After a few sips, the disjunctness of the whiskey starts to fade because your palate gets used to it. But that's no excuse for the fact that I think the whiskey's a little bit disjunct. Now back to the Glenfiddich 15. Wow. Just the word general describes this so well. Honestly, it's kind of tough to say which one I would rather have because they're both flawed in their own ways. I mean, if you just want bigger flavors, you're going to go for the Macallan 12. But if you want to save $20 to $35, maybe even more, the Glenfiddich 15, especially if you're a little bit newer to it, don't go for the label hype of the Mac 12. Just go for the Glenfiddich. I think so. Joe Dickinson prefers the Dalmore 12. Yeah, I just don't remember the profile on that one, unfortunately. All right, checking the chat here. All right, let's move away from Scotch now. Gosh, last sip of that Macallan. It really tastes like a port finish. It really does. It has that skunkiness to it. That overdone raisin. Before we get into the blind, let's get into some Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. I need like almost a palate cleanser going from Scotch to this. Okay. Cool. I think I will have a sip of, I don't know, let's just go Eagle Rare. That's always the go-to. And while I grab that, here is the old Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. So yeah, Amy, I can side by side these. I know you were talking about that earlier. So William Molnar says, my Scotch experience is limited to most of the Johnny Walkers and a Lafroig 10 once. I tell you what, that Johnny Walker Green is a really nice whiskey. A great blend. I love Johnny Walker Green. In your face. Good amount of peat. Big flavor. And then other than that, they all have their issues. So then at that point, I just go for the black because it's kind of best value for what you're going to get. Okay. Little Eagle Rare. Did I pour Eagle Rare? Yeah. Why did that smell identical to that 6-year Bottled and Bond? Okay. No, I'm just crazy. God, I'm having a hard time going Scotch to bourbon. That's not good. Paul Graham saw Eagle Rare at a Walmart for $34 last week in Redding, California. That's awesome, Paul. To me, it's like I'd be picking 2 of those up if I saw it at that price, you know? 100%. All right. Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, 7-year. What is this, guys? Is this $50 now? I know it jumped, but how much did it jump? Let's see. Yeah, $50. for the Heaven Hill 7-year age-dated bottled and bond. And the old one was like, what, 17, 20, and it was 6-year age-dated. The point of this isn't really to compare these two. I have done this before a long time ago, but I just want to dive back into the 7-year bottled and bond because I keep seeing everybody popping up, pictures of this in Facebook groups, people snagging these things. So I'm like, okay, let's see if I think this is worth it for my palate, because for some reason before I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But let's see. Let's see now. I'm gonna first take a sip of this and get this on the palate after all that scotch. Okay. Wow. That's definitely different than I remember it. So it's good to do this. I think it's good to revisit things, older bottles. Your palate changes. You get better at tasting, you know. Okay. Heaven Hill 7-year bottled and bond feels a little crispy. Does that make sense? It feels a little crispy with the way that the spice and the brown sugar notes all are interacting. I don't know, like a real crispy pie crust, you know? So what am I getting here? Tons and tons of cinnamon on this one. Good brown sugar notes, but I would say cinnamon is the thing that's really jumping out of the glass. I mean, it's going to sound ridiculous to say very classic caramel, but it really is just like a classic bourbon profile. There's something in here that I can't quite put my finger on that is the one part of the whiskey that differentiates it from other things. What is it? It's almost like something very fresh. I mean, maybe it's like a menthol note. If you guys are sipping this or smelling this along with me, let me know what you're getting. Oh, it's like it's two things. Like I said menthol, it's menthol and bubblegum. There's like a bubblegum note in this. Yes. I think you could even see it as cotton candy. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I don't know that I've ever picked that up before. That's typically a young whiskey note for me, but I don't think it's coming off totally negative in this whiskey. Pretty nutty. Pretty nutty on this. The spice, though. This thing, to me, drinks over 100 proof. And I would imagine that's why a lot of people like this. It has classic bourbon profile. It's somewhere between Jim Beam and Heaven Hill because of that nuttiness and because of how crispy, that's the word I'm going to use, which to me in this case, let's call it like a dry peanut note. Because of that like kind of crispiness or dry peanut note, it feels almost more towards Jim Beam than it does Heaven Hill, which to me is typically a little more of a rounded peanut butter type profile. And so it straddles these two legacy distillery profiles that are both extremely classic profiles when you think of Kentucky bourbon. And then it hits above its proof point with some extra spice. Those are all things that people, I think, enthusiasts are going to love. It almost reminds me of like, not in the profile, don't get me wrong, but like Rare Breed. It reminds me of the way that Rare Breed drinks. When it drinks a little hot for what it is, this feels like that. It's coming off a little hot, but in a way that people are going to like, not in a way that's so overbearing that no one wants to drink it. Let me know if I'm crazy for saying that. The more I'm smelling this, there is a little bit of, I hate this grassiness coming off of this one. All right. All right, so let's go to the 6-year just very quickly. Why not? It's way darker. And way more muted on the nose. It's maybe not muted. Maybe it's just more of an appropriate nose for 100 proof, because I think this 7-year is fiery. Wow, I cannot believe the way this 6-year smells. It smells very good. Darker, a little bit more earthy and antique and leathery for a 6-year bottled and bond from Heaven Hill. It's kind of crazy. Oh my God. Wow. I don't think the 7-year is a bad whiskey by any means. I think it definitely comes off more like the whiskey that's being produced nowadays, where everything feels a little thinner, a little sharper, less depth, kind of across the board in 85% of whiskeys coming out right now, especially from legacy distilleries whose stocks have presumably been depleted over the last couple years as everything has boomed. This feels like that. This whiskey hits so far above its pay grade. Maybe what I had in my mind of not liking the 7-year was just because of how much I liked the 6-year. That stuff is freakishly good for what it is. I mean, you could convince me that that's like an 8 to 10-year whiskey on the nose. Seriously, it's just so dark, and those antique notes in here, I'm not going to call it dusty. It's not quite there, but you can just tell that this is a profile of, a few years back. I would say if you guys see this, $30, $35. If it's still sitting anywhere, if people are trying to trade for it. I know SRP was like 20. I would overpay for this a little bit because I think it's super quality whiskey, and I would be very curious, actually. You know what? Let's do a 3-way real quick. Hey-o. Real quick. Oh, unless I don't have it in here anymore. I do. Cool. Let's just see. Let's throw a little straight up Elijah Craig small batch. And when I say a little, I mean legitimately a little bottle. A little Elijah Craig small batch in the middle. And see how it stacks up to both of these bottled and bond products. So we're 6 proof points under now at 94 instead of 100. But that's okay. I think Elijah Craig is a great, great bottle. So let's see. Avery says, is it a juicy fruit gum smell? Maybe. I think juicy fruit, to me, when I get juicy fruit on certain things, it stands out a little bit more. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I get juicy fruit from, but I know I've said that before. Maybe. But I think this is more just straight up bubblegum on the 7-year. Joe, local guy, was selling a full case of the Heaven Hill 6 bottled and bond last week at $45. I'd probably buy 2 of those, Joe. I don't know. I actually bought one, I think maybe for that price, or $40, like a year ago, and I still haven't picked it up from the guy who lives here in Columbus. And at this point, I feel like I just owe him the money and not even getting the bottle. It's been like a year and I haven't picked it up. Amy says 7-year Heaven Hill bottled and bond is a $50 bottle. I think the 6-year was like $20. Yeah, it's crazy that that's the case when you do the side by side. Crazy. Cohen Russell single barrel here for $55. Yeah, easy on that one. Easy on that one. Take that over the 7-year. So DeMarcus says, does the 6-year have the nutty profile? Yeah, it does, but it's more of the traditional Heaven Hill peanut butter, whereas the 7-year is more of like that spicy Jim Beam dry peanut shell. And on the 6-year, it's not like offensive in any way. It goes along with the profile of the whiskey. There's just like that hint of almost dustiness, like just the smallest little speck in that 6-year that is so cool. So now let's try the Elijah Craig small batch. All right, so the way these are coming off. Now plugging Elijah Craig small batch into the mix, I'm getting a lot of cherry notes on it. It's distinctly coming off red fruit and kind of, I mean, less fireworks. It's lower proof. The 6-year bottled in bond now is coming off very chocolatey, which goes along with when I was talking about a darker profile. That's becoming more obvious as like a chocolate syrup kind of profile. All right, so I just tasted the Elijah Craig. Now I'll go back to the 7-year bottled in bond. There's so much spice on that 7-year. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe how different that is than the 6-year. And it drinks like 110 proof. Wow. So it's kind of funny, but Elijah Craig small batch, I'm not just saying this, it falls in the middle of both of these bottled in bonds. It's a lower proof, but it has more of the profile of the 6-year in terms of it being a little bit darker, but it also carries with it some of the qualities of the 7-year. It feels to me like you lose the bubble gum from the 7-year and you add red fruit instead. And with the 6-year, it's a little bit brighter than the 6-year, which is a super dark whiskey. It almost feels like this 6-year, the barrels were pulled from higher parts of the rickhouse. Like there's just more barrel impact is the way it comes off to me. And the Elijah Craig feels like a blend of both of those together, just at a slightly lower proof. I mean, Heaven Hill just makes great whiskey, you know? They really do, except for most large senior barrel proofs. That's where I draw the line. Except for the C922, which is why I'm giving it away tonight. Okay. I'm going to check the PayPal just real quick. Guys, I just spent way too much money on drum gear. So that's why I'm drinking tonight. Yeah, so how much is Elijah Craig small batch? Is this a $30 bottle? I want to say that's right. 30, 28? The Heaven Hill 6-year bottle in the bond is easily better than current Elijah Craig. So add $5, add $8 onto whatever this costs, and I would pay that and find somebody that has some of these. Seriously. Cohen says, post-2020 Elijah Craig small batch is 6 to 8 year. Before it was 8 to 10. That makes sense. I got a 2019 bottling during Corona for $14.99 each and bought a bunch. That's good to know. Maybe checking laser codes is a good idea on those. Aiden, Elijah Craig store picture always fun. Yeah, I have a 12-year small batch. Sorry. Jeez. It says small batch on it. That's why I said that. I have a 12-year 94 proof Liquor Barn pick that is out of this world good. So even at the lower proof, Jeff Perkins can get EC small batch for around 25 just about everywhere. So yeah, I really think this is like a $35 bottle, but it's got that old school profile that makes it tugs at my heartstrings. That's good stuff. I got to keep this bottle upstairs now. So what's the verdict then on... on Heaven Hill 7-year bottled and bond. This is just a tough one at $50 for me. Like, what else could you get in that $50 range? Maybe even from Heaven Hill themselves, or slightly under 50 or slightly over 50. I know everybody would say, Elijah Craig barrel proof. Okay, let's exclude that from the list, because of course I would rather pick that up than this. It's also maybe $20 more. What would I pick up over this at 50? Maybe like a Knob Creek pick. Even modern day 9, 10, 11-year picks. Maybe I would take a Knob Creek pick over this, and those are typically around that $50 price point. Pikesville Rye. I think I would go Pikesville over the Heaven Hill 7-year bottled and bond bourbon. I think Pikesville, you got to want that little extra rye in the profile, but it's barely legal. Great balance, great sweetness with the spice. I think I would go Pikesville over this, just off the top of my head. Thomas says Four Roses single barrel. That's a good call. The current bottlings of that aren't as great as they were a few years ago, but same for all the Heaven Hill stuff too. That would be a close competition for me. Jeff, a lot of people like small batch select. I am not a big fan. I don't know if mine's up here or if it's in the basement. I'm just not the biggest fan of that profile. I think it feels confused, like there's too much going on. Cohen, if you can find these, of course, this is a great call out. 1792 foolproof pick, $50, no brainer. Pick that up over the 7-year bottled and bond. When should you buy the 7-year bottled and bond? Well, if $50 is, if that's kind of like a throwaway on whiskey, which for a lot of people it is, you know, some people, their only hobby is whiskey. It's one of my only hobbies besides music. And so I spend a little more on whiskey because it's something that I really love. And I don't really have an issue, walking in and saying, I'm going to buy this $50 bottle. When you get to 80, 100, it's like, okay. I should think about this. But $50 for this, if that's not a big deal, you want to try it, of course, give it a go. But I think for those of you out there that like rare breed, think about whether you'd want this or rare breed. DeMarcus, that really depends on the barrel, I think. I've had some pretty bad ones. And I've only had a few that have been stellar. Like, I have a really good one back there. This is great, Aiden. Small batch select tastes like already chewed spearmint gum coated in fruit cocktail juice. I love that. Robert says, I won't be replacing my 7-year bottled and bond when I finally get through it. It's too nutty. I would agree it's quite nutty. Rare breed is a better value. Yeah, Amy says it best. $50 for 100 proof bottled and bond. It's a tough price range. So many good choices, 35 to 70. Yeah, I would agree. It's hard for me to think of something off the top of my head right now. Oh, I mean, unless you're going to go for a totally different profile. Like Cooper's Craft 100, I would say all day, every day over the bottled and bond. But that's a much fruitier, different profile from Brown-Forman than this super classic Kentucky, nutty caramel profile of Heaven Hill. So that, to me, is not a good comparison. I'm trying to think of things in the vein of this profile that could, either dictate me to buy this, given the value of the other product, or that I should buy that other product, given what I believe is a pretty low value buy here on this Heaven Hill. Aiden, you're killing it tonight, dude. The more I sip this 7-year, I'm liking it a little bit more. It maintains its proof through every sip, its spiciness, which is cool. Yeah, and if you go up, Aiden mentions Knob Creek 12. Called you Caden. I read the K from KC12. If you go up to $60, $10 more, and you're going to get a Knob Creek 12, this doesn't stand a chance. Wow, Joe, Knob Creek 12 at 55. Oh, yeah. That's a no-brainer. So, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know where this... It just feels like a strange product at the price point. If it was $35, it would be so different. If the price increase was 20 from the 6-year to 35 for this, I would be on board. Yeah. And I think there's like some almost manufactured scarcity of this product. It's not available all the time. It's not an on-the-shelf product in a lot of places. People then flock to it for that reason. I don't quite understand that. I don't really understand that. So, it's not bad whiskey. It's just priced out by other things. It prices itself out. Oh, you know what? I forgot I wanted to do. I procured a sample. Have I done this before? I know that I've tasted Michter's Toasted on the channel before. I do know that. This is a 2021. But it looks like I've taken a sip of this. But I'm not sure if I did it on the channel. I don't think I did. This is a 2018 Michter's Toasted. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to do a quick comparison of... when was this bottle? This would have been June of 2021, I think, if I'm reading that correctly. G would be July. So this is a July 2021 bottling. Yeah, I don't think I've done this on the channel, but this is going to be 3 years earlier of Michter's Toasted Bourbon. And I just thought it would be a good comparison to see if anything changed from year to year. Now, many of you know I'm not the biggest fan of Michter's Toasted products. The modern day rye is a train wreck compared to the stuff that Amy sent me from, I think, 2017, which is so incredibly good. This bourbon is not bad. Not bad by any means. It's not worth the secondary value, and thankfully that value came down over the last year. Cohen says, can still get handles of Wild Turkey 101 Old Label for $35. That's crazy. That's crazy. Aiden, you can find Kentucky Spirit for $40. I'd love to get another one of those nowadays and see what it's like. Yeah, I see it on shelves between 60 and 80 in some of those videos. You're right. Tom Snyder, not a fan of Old Forester, but the 10 and 20 are good values. I think right now 1910 is the winner for me. The newer stuff is so good. All right. Yeah, okay, that actually smells really good. Interesting. Okay, what do we got here? Off Camber says, drum gear, question mark, Zildjian cymbals, Remo skins, Shure mic, CW pedals, ProMark sticks. All right, so I'm a Sabian artist, so I play Sabian. I do have some Zildjian cymbals. You know, I just don't post pictures with me playing them. And I think most of these companies, unless you're a huge drum set artist touring around, being photographed all the time, they understand. And when I signed all my artist endorsements, I made it very clear that sometimes I'm not going to use your products. I won't talk about it in a big way or photograph it, but I'll always be honest with people if they ask. So anyways, Sabian artist. I don't have a drumhead sponsor for some reason. I just never pursued that. I talked to some guys from Remo, and I just never followed up like an idiot. So I need to get on that. I'm a Malitech artist, so I play Malitech, marimbas, vibes, xylophones, that kind of stuff. And I play their mallets as well. So I don't have a drumstick company because Malitech doesn't make drumsticks. They just make mallets and keyboard instruments. What else? Black Swamp Percussion. I'm an artist with those guys, so I play their tambourines and accessories and stuff like that. So for me, it's going to be Sabian. I play Remo mostly, although I do use some Evans hydraulics from time to time. Mics, whatever gets the job done. I use a lot of Audio-Technica. I've got some Sennheiser. I've got some Shure. Pedals, I don't know. That's tough. I have a few different pedals. I've got some Tama, Yamaha. I don't think I have any DW right now. Sticks, I love ProMark sticks. I really do. I also use... What else do I use? Vader. I use ProMark and Vader a lot of the time. Yeah. I think... Am I missing something in there? Let me see. It's in my... like my Instagram bio on my personal page. Oh, and then there's a company I work with called Rustic Percussion that makes like temple blocks and other accessory instruments. His name's Ryan, great guy. Kind of like a small operation, but a really cool company. So he started an artist program there as well. Okay. But yeah, man, ProMark sticks, and I love Vader sticks. Manhattan 7As for just kind of general playing. Not for heavier stuff, but general playing. And then ProMark, the Jazz Cafe ProMark sticks, really, really small sticks. If I'm playing light stuff, I'm playing with the orchestra, but playing drum set, you can't overpower them. Or if you're playing, a small chamber, trio, whatever. Okay. So let's check out these Michter's Toasteds very quick. 2021, and then a sample of the 2018. This stuff smells good. Plain and simple. Both of them smell very good. The again, the thing that I get from Michter's Toasted products often is this rubber note that I get from certain Toasteds. Sagamore Double Oak. Yeah, just a lot of the new stuff coming to market in these toasted barrels. This rubberiness. And yes, the 2021 has a little bit of that, but mostly what you get is just super sweet, smoothed out, delectable dark cherry. Almost a Buffalo Trace kind of vibe to this profile. Yeah, it's like that grape dark cherry thing that you get from Buffalo Trace products, but coming out of this Michter's. And because of the toasted barrel, you're getting additional caramel notes within that, which makes it feel a bit more full on the nose than, say, Buffalo Trace, maybe Eagle Rare. And then on top of that, I think, again, because of the toasted barrel, you're getting aromatic spice. So to me, this is coming off... Yeah, clove nutmeg. It's very aromatic. Nice. Palate suffers a bit because of that rubber note. It becomes more aggressive. Kind of like a dark chocolate espresso thing along with that rubberiness, but it overtook it, and then I go back to the nose, and it smells unpleasant after my palate has tasted those notes. So on the nose at first, it smelled great, and the palate, not as great. A longer finish than you would expect for a product that's 91.4 proof. But then you go back to the nose, and it almost ruins itself. I don't know that I've had that problem with a whiskey ever. Then you jump over to the 2018. There's not a hint of rubber anywhere on this. It's not like that weird toasted barrel thing. And instead, it actually has an extra light note on this, which at the very top end of things, I think is like a green apple note. But everything else is pretty much the same. All that dark cherry, Buffalo Tracy type vibe is there. but it's a little lighter because of that top green apple note. I think I like this better on the nose. After what happened to this one, tasting it kind of ruining itself. So let's try the 2018. Oh my God. And that's why people love this stuff. I think everybody right now is chasing Michters based on the hype around these toasted products, the bourbon and the rye, the hype of 3 to 5 years ago. Whereas today I taste these products and there's just something off about all of them. I don't know if they're using different barrels, a different char level on the barrels. They're leaving the whiskey in longer and it's developing this strange note. This is crazy to me, and it's similar to the difference of Amy's 2017 Michter's Toasted Rye versus my 2021 version. Or it might even be a 22. It's probably a 21, though. Whatever it is, it's modern. Man. That's just so good. Instead of that rubber note and any of that dark chocolate espresso type thing, it's just more of like a toasted bread note. Great. Aiden says, according to Gary Franchi, they've switched over to their own distillate now. That would make sense. Although maybe not. No, it would. What I was thinking is, like, if it's still a problem exclusive to the toasted products, then it would make me think that it's the barrels doing it, the secondary barrel. But I actually get this rubberiness on their barrel strength rye, which is not, I mean, it's not labeled toasted. I guess it could be. Excuse me, I got the bourbon belches. Because the barrel strength rye has that problem too, then maybe it is a more widespread issue that's coming from their distillate. That said, though, the Sagamore Double Oak has that issue, and I thought it was from the toasted barrel getting that rubberiness. But is the Sagamore Double Oak their own distillate? Or is it still MGP that they're toasting? Because if it's their own distillate, then I'm more inclined to believe that maybe that distillate and the Michter's distillate has something in it that just doesn't jive well with me. Regardless of the case of any of that, I still think we are riding the hype train of these Michter's limited products from 3 to 5 years ago, and these products are completely different nowadays. Aiden says the Double Oak is MGP. Okay. Then to me, that would be a barreling issue. I'm more inclined to believe still that it's a barrel issue or change, because it might not be an issue for everybody. It just is an issue for me. I'm more inclined to believe it's from the barrel than it is from the distillate, just given what the note itself is. You don't typically find rubber notes like that in somebody's distillate, from my experience. I think you find that from that extra cask. Oh, the 2018 is glorious. Ah, yeah. That's so good. Tom Snyder, thank you, man. Thank you for the kind words. Love hanging out here and appreciate the fantastic content. I'm glad you like it. Because, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? I appreciate it, Tom. And Scott Von Canel says, just picked up the Lucky 7 Frenchman and Holiday Toast. Seems like these bottles dropped a lot of places. Yes, someone was talking about it earlier. I've not had the Holiday Toast, so unfortunately I can't speak to it. Before I get to tonight's blind flight, which is only 4 pours, so I'll move through it fairly quickly, let me grab the Frenchman. And I'll just do a quick refresh for myself on this Frenchman. I think it was Keith Thompson asking about this earlier. You can see the dust on mine. I don't ever pick this up. Aiden, I totally agree, and I think this is another place that rubber note that I talk about, which some people call charcoal or heavy char. You're talking barbecue, totally in the same vein. It's like a savory burnt thing going on. Scott, yeah, open up the, you're going to open the Frenchman? Yeah, we can sip this together here for a second. All right, let me check my Venmo very quickly. I think we're good. Yeah, we are good. So, moving on to the Frenchman, 113 proof or 56.5% ABV. This is batch 1. So, I guess, Scott, if you've got a newer batch, there could be some difference. Yeah, like a charred bark note. That's a good way of putting it, Aiden. Yeah. It's just not my thing, man. I just can't get into it. Joe, that barbecue note is definitely on Discovery 8. 42 bourbons and 11 staves. I know, man. I love it. That's so true. It was on Discovery 8. Discovery 8 did it a little bit better. The Michters, to me, slapped me in the face, and the Sagamore Double Oak is undrinkable. I can't get into it. Reigning PC says, good evening, picked up my first Booker's. Can't wait for a day off to enjoy it. Which one did you snag? So Scott picked up batch 3. I didn't know they were on to 3. All right. Yeah, okay, so I go to this Frenchman, and on the nose, I know that I'm smelling whiskey, but it's the flavor notes are not there. I don't know how to describe this. Like, I can tell there is decently high proof whiskey in my glass, 113. But you smell it, and it's almost like nothing is coming out of the glass. I don't know that maybe I have experiences with some French oak. Definitely Sauterne finished bourbon does this. Like, when you have a Sauterne finished bourbon, would that be French oak? It would have to be French oak, right? A Sauterne barrel would have to be French oak, I would think. But Sauterne itself is going to have a very particular impact. It just, like, I have some Starlights like this. I know the Starlight profile, and then you get the Starlight Sauterne, and it's so weird because it just pushes everything down. It just mutes things about the whiskey. In the case of the one that I have, I actually really like what the Sauterne adds to it, but the fact that it moves everything else out of the way is strange. And this French oak, this Frenchman, like, I'm smelling some bourbony smells, but it just feels like something is not there. The proof is there, and the fact that it's bourbon, but not the specifics of this are missing. Aiden is it like you're stuffed up? I've had that where it comes off like that's exactly it. It feels like when you're sick, but you can still kind of smell something. This Frenchman is like that. But, okay, if I have to move past what I'm saying, I'm going to say, to me, this is a burnt cherry. Yeah, like burnt notes. Not too savory, not barbecue, not rubber like I was talking about on the Michters. This is just like a burnt cherry. Kind of darker cinnamon notes. And maybe there's something else in here. Maybe just kind of a chocolate note. It's weird. So weird. Aiden, man, you are spicy tonight. You have some great comments. Reigning PC says 2022-04. What batch is that? That's not the Kentucky Tea batch. It's the one after it, I think, right? I don't remember. I haven't gotten a Booker's in a while. Although I keep hearing that I need to get the Kentucky Tea batch. So I might have to see if I can get a sample first. DeMarcus, I do have a Peerless Double Oaked, actually. it's kind of in the same vein. Like, it's good, but there are some weird issues with it. I'm going to hold off on tasting it tonight. I don't want to get, too schlitzy, but I would say it's similar to the issues that I'm talking about with some of these other products. It gets a little bit savory for me. Avery, a double rye Sauterne finish is interesting. I think Sauterne does probably better with bourbon, but a shorter finishing because it can overtake it. With rye, I don't think Sauterne is going to be like a strong enough finish to cut through it. Whereas if you get something like port, sherry, Cabernet cask, you see High West use Grenache casks. Those things, I think, or Syrah. I don't know if they use Syrah casks. I feel like maybe I've seen that. That would probably play really nicely with some of the savory notes in the rye. I think the Sauterne on that double rye, which is a really young rye, might not work as well as some other finishes. Okay. I need to blow my nose. Might have to take a second and do that here before I get to this blind flight. Scott says, newer to the bourbon craze, but yeah, typically at this proof I'll get the nose burn, but I don't get it at all in the Frenchman. Yeah, the Frenchman is more muted, I think. To me, this is like if you took Wild Turkey Rare Breed and you made it way darker of a profile. That's kind of what the Frenchman reminds me of. It's just a darker cherry, a darker chocolate caramel type profile. A little smoky. Like I talked about burnt cherry. There's a little just of a smokiness to this. It gets better as I sip it, but it's just lacking in the mid palate. For some reason, the French oak and this bourbon together are not working that well. I don't know. All right. Let's get to a blind flight, and then we will call it a night. I'm going to blow my nose very quickly, guys. There we go. Okay, Joe, so they do use Syrah. I would imagine, and Joe, you being a wine person, it makes sense in my head that a Syrah finish on a rye would work very well. Cut through the rye with the bigger jammy fruit notes, but also with that black pepper from the Syrah. Maybe a little bit of an herbal note to it. I just feel like that would be a perfect complement, but also something fruity to cut through the rye. Such a heavy profile. It'd be interesting to kind of line up a few of those double rye finishes. Find a Grenache, I think they might use Zinfandel sometimes, find a Syrah, and then go like port, sherry, other things, more fortified stuff, and do a side-by-side. I think that could be an interesting flight. Even more interesting would be if they were all finished for the same length of time. Joe loves the Booker's Kentucky Tea Batch. Man, I need to try it then. Oh, it's Pinky's Batch. Okay. I haven't really heard anything about Pinky's, so... Okay, let's do this. I need to rearrange these quickly. These blind pours. Okay, let's move this over. I like to go left to right for you guys, so it ends up being right to left for me. So just a little quick Matt Madness training here. You know what? Let's do the giveaway before this blind flight, because I don't want people to have to stick around to after this. And maybe this will only leave 30 people, 25, 35, whatever. But let's do the giveaway at 12:35 tonight. So that's in just a little over 5 minutes from now. So if you want to get your super chats in for the C922, second place after the randomizer is spun 7 times, second on the list, that person is going to win just a sample pack from me of some cool pours. First place will win the C922. But let's end that in about 5 minutes at 12:35. So last call on any Venmo, PayPal, or super chats here on YouTube. We've already had more tonight than I would have expected, so thank you all so much for the support, for hanging out as well. That's awesome. Yeah, I know it's late, so thank you for hanging out at this hour. And with that said, cut me some slack. I'm gonna go hit the little boy's room very quickly. So give me like 90 seconds. I'll turn on some jazz while I'm gone. All right. Thank you guys for your patience. Avery Piper says, just picked up an Oloroso Sherry Double Rye. It's so good. Let me know if you want a sample. I always appreciate samples. I'm kind of drowning in them right now. If you do want to send it, I will totally take it. I will totally taste it. Maybe on a live stream. I can never guarantee a video, but if you want to send it, more than willing. Just send me an email, drumsanddrams@gmail.com. I'll post that here in the chat here in just a second. There. I'll put it there, and then I'll get it up on the screen after I do this drawing for the giveaway. DeMarcus, almost forgot to ask, what's your jazz playlist called? This is just a bunch of royalty-free jazz music from a subscription service called Epidemic Sound, which a lot of us YouTubers use. It's like a, I don't know, $25 a month subscription so that we have access to music for our videos and we don't have to pay any other fees besides this monthly thing. So I just found maybe like 6 or 7 tracks. I don't even know what they're called. I plugged them. I put them all into a program, combined them all into one file. So it's a continuous playlist, and then I just put it in here. But the file size is pretty low. It's like 20 megabyte audio file size limit. So with 20 meg, you can only really squeeze in like 5 to 6, 3-minute tracks. Scott says, glad to see you back on. Great stream. Kind of wish I waited on the Frenchman until the stream, but I like the holiday toast. I'm glad you like the toast. And thank you, Scott. I'm going to get you in for one entry here. Let's see. Scott Van Kane. In for one. Thank you, Scott. I'm going to do a final check of my Venmo, guys. And otherwise, we're going to get going here. I'll do the giveaway very quickly. Okay. Should have everybody. Can't wait for this blind. Sarah said it's not her best work. She was in a rush to do this, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure it's good. Sarah's always good at these blinds. All right. So I'm going to share my screen now. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. Share screen. Entire screen. Cool. So here we have it. Cohen says no Scotch for Dummies or Bourbon Bites tonight. Wow. So here's what I have for giveaway entries, right? I have Amy. Let me know, guys, if I forgot you for some reason. I hope I didn't, but here's what I have. Amy, Avery, DeMarcus, Paul, William Molnar, Joe, Tom, and Scott. And then it generates your names with your amount of entries over here, which I copy and paste into the randomizer. So take a quick look at this. A lot of people just see their name and think it's only one entry. The entries are over here on this side. Okay, so check real quick. Scott says, think I should have 2. Scott, did you super chat earlier one? Did I miss it? I did miss it. Thank you for letting me know, Scott. That's why we do this. And this is why Amy is the freaking legend goat of tracking super chats, and I didn't want to ask her at the last minute tonight to do that. Especially considering how late it is. You never know if people are going to be up or not. I'm scrolling back here. I see. Oh, Keith Thompson. I missed Keith Thompson. Wow, I freaking suck at this. Keith, I'm sorry, dude. I got you in for 2. I see Amy. And then, yeah. Wow. I got Avery 1 from my Venmo. Let me know, guys, if I missed anybody. Avery says, thanks for the later live stream, Cam. I usually just replay. It was nice to be able to enjoy this live. I appreciate it. Good luck with Matt Madness. Hey, are you a West Coaster? Or further west, I guess? Is that why? Got Joe, William Molnar, and Avery tonight. Okay, I think we're good. Let's run this randomizer. Let me copy the new updated list. I'm glad I checked. And here we go. We're gonna do 7 spins as normal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lucky number 7. Number 1 wins Larceny Barrel Proof C922. Number 2 wins a sample pack. And then we're going to do this blind flight. Boom. There it is. William Molnar winning the Larceny. I need to zoom on this screen, not this one. There we go. And Paul Graham coming in number 2 with a sample pack. Now I get to send Paul more stuff. This is going to be fun. I'm going to write this down on my phone real quick. Giveaway winners. So send me an email, drumsanddrams@gmail.com, just reminding me of your address. You can tell me what you won. Paul Graham sample pack. And I will put that on the screen here. Here we go. Congrats, guys. Leach Top Gun says, can I ask why you don't use a typical Glencairn for your whiskey reviews? Yeah. I think Glencairns, for me, get a little too much ethanol on the nose of just about everything that's over 90 proof. I just feel like it's disproportionate. And when I have something with a little bigger bowl at the bottom, and the opening is actually a little wider than a Glencairn also, I feel like this rolls off a little bit more of the ethanol. And I get a better read on whiskey this way. And because I've been using these glasses for the last 3 years or so, when I go back to a Glencairn, it really throws me off. So very rarely do I use a Glencairn anymore, unless I'm traveling and I need to bring the Glencairn tube travel thing, which I have on one of my shelves right here. It's kind of hard to see. But now I do have a travel case for these glasses, but you have to travel with 4 at a time, so it takes up a little more space if it's in a suitcase or something. Excuse me. All right. So let's do this blind flight very quickly. Not too quickly, but quickly. Get my little notebook out. This is going to be basically some Matt Madness training. This is 330. Really, it's 331. 23. We have glass 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm trying to guess, I believe, 7 things. Age, proof, type, finished or not, distillery, bottle, and then if I can guess the mash bill as well. Primary, secondary grain, basically, is what I'm trying to do. So, here we go. Elite Top Gun says, what type of glass is that? So check the description of this video. You should find it. Let me see the way that I have it listed. It's the first one under glasses I use in the description. The Stolzle Lausitz 6.5 ounce Whisky Nosing Glass. Look that up. There are other companies, other things on Amazon you'll see like this. They're all basically this glass with the short stem. It's the one that says primary drinker in the description of the video. Reigning PC, I have no American single malt suggestions, unfortunately. It's a category I've not quite gotten into myself. So, test card. Let's get the focus of the camera going. All right, so I'm going to show you what is going to be in my glass number 1. Let's remove this. Let's add it. Okay, so here is what is going to be in my glass number 1. Make sure it's aligned with the test card. Turn my, let me put my cursor here. Turn my head, lift it up. Remember, no spoilers in the chat, please. No hints, no spoilers. Don't talk about this bottle. Don't talk about bottles related to it or opposite of it, or that you found it on a shelf. I had my cursor there. I just clicked it. I think that should have full screened it. Don't talk about anything related to this bottle. I will reveal it for myself at the end. All right, I'm going to put it down, turn my head back, and move this back. Let's go to glass 1. And these are not timed. These are just straight up. Go through these as much as you want. Reigning PC, yeah. Does anyone in the chat have a suggestion about any American single malts? So what is this? The Campbelltown Lock? What is, Cohen, can you tell me more about that? Until a third of the bottle has got some airtime, much better, well worth the 55. What is that? Is that a new distillery? Is it sourced from an existing Campbelltown distillery? All right, glass number 1. Feels like a Brown-Forman product to me. It's got that fruitiness, that... yeah, it's got that Brown-Forman extra fruity note to it. Feels like a decently high proof. I think it could be a Jack Daniel's product, given that note that Matt Porter talks about, that red wine finish kind of note that Jack Daniel's has. But maybe not. But it does really feel like a Brown-Forman product. Proof on the nose, 120? Question mark. Let's taste it. Oh, that's hot. That's a weird one. Ooh, that actually might be not Brown-Forman. That could be like a Lucky 7. It could be a high-proof Barton bottle. High-proof Barton, question mark? Yeah, the proof on that is high. It just has that thing to it. It has that Brown-Forman thing. What could that be? It's, oh man, that's hard to tell. It's like this could be like an Old Forester barrel proof. It could be a Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. But proof to me, I said 120 question mark. I'm between 127 and 133. This doesn't feel old to me, so that's why I'm going to shy away from what I was saying earlier. Like, this could be a high-aged Barton barrel proofer. I would shy away from that. Although, I mean, this could be... I think my palate's a little off. And I feel like I need to blow my nose again, so I hope I'm not getting sick. Good Lord. It was a very long day. Let's just, I mean, it's been a long couple weeks. Very long day, though. All right. Back at it. Man, if that's not Brown-Forman. At high proofs, some of these Brown-Forman products can tinge towards like an OESQ for roses, which can also go towards a high-aged, high-proof Barton, which can actually go towards a high-proof, high-aged 21% MGP rye bourbon from years ago. Those actually taste like Barton products. It's just, these connections are really weird. And to me, it's like the more you learn about whiskey, the more confused you get yourself because the possibilities continue to open up. All right, I'm just going to roll with like the fact that this is like a 6-year. I'm going to say one. God, what am I going to say? Proof. $129. Calling it a bourbon. I'm going to say this is Old Forester. I'm going to say it's an Old Forester single barrel strength. And mash, primary corn, secondary rye. That's my guess for number one. So let's go to number two. Number one is rough. That feels like it could be a lot of things. The Jack Daniel's stood out at first. I know I always say go with your gut, but I don't think I can go with it on that. Let me remove this banner because this is done. Cohen says Campbelltown Lock is all 5 Campbelltown whiskeys blended by J. Mitchell at 46. Kind of Springbank-ish, good for 55. Hard to put your finger on it because there's 5 whiskeys in it, lightly peated. And I have a feeling it's mostly Glengyle in the blend. I wish it had more peat. Okay. All right, so let's get this. There we go. So test card is up. All right, let's get this set to go up. Cursor on. All right, so here's what's going to be in glass number 2 now. Turn my head, flip it up. Full screen. 3, 2, 1. Remember, no spoilers. And I'll turn my head back after I flip this down. Okay. Get this here. And here we go. Oh my God, that smells just, well, maybe not just like number 1. It smells awfully close. Tim Evans, what's up, man? Cheers to you. We're in the throes of a blind flight right now. Jeesh. I don't even know if that's the right word use of the word throes. But here we are. What the hell, man? What is that? Oh, now I go back to glass 1 and I'm totally second guessing it. I need to not do that. Glass 2 feels also a pretty high proof. This could be... I guess I should have looked at the color of glass 1. Ah. Oh, that's hot. Wow. I think I'm shooting too high on proof right now. I think glass 1. Wow, that is so much cinnamon. Oh my good God. That tastes like a Willet product, and I don't even think I own Willet for Sarah to have poured in this flight. Oh my God, that's so hot. So much cinnamon. Wow. Wow. Tim Evans says, "How was the show?" Yeah, man, it was good. So tonight was, for me, it was like, well, it was a collage concert. So 7 different pieces that we played tonight. I only played one of them. I did a solo. I did the theater thing, the theatrical bouncy ball piece that I do with electronics. Audience loved it. You know, it was a donor event for the symphony, and it was fun. It was a lot. The venue was very cool. Great lighting. It was catered, which was nice. I don't eat before I play, so by the time I got done, there were 3 bacon-wrapped somethings that I ate that were very cold by the time I ate them. But it was still nice to have a little bite at the end of the show. Good concert, though. Yeah. Man, I feel like I am not killing this blind. All right, glass 2 is a little rubbery, actually. So there's a little bit of that, like, toasted barrel rubberiness to it. I'm going to, notes-wise, I'm going to write down high proof, rubbery, question mark. This does not feel like a Brown-Forman product. The more I taste this, concentration of flavor is similar to glass 1, which I believe was a Brown-Forman product, which I'm now second-guessing. Let's just stick with it. That still could be Jack Daniels. I go back to that. I should go with my first impression, which was Jack Daniels single barrel proof. I'm saying Old Forester single barrel strength. Whatever. Glass 2 has the same concentration of flavor, but in a different way, with different notes. It feels like it could be older. But the ethanol is killer on this. I don't have very much of this left. Sarah poured me not a lot of these, which is, it's good. It's good training. That is a hot bugger. Wow. That is hot. I don't even know. Gosh, sorry. You're just sitting here watching me think. Wood Hester says, "What's up from Cincy?" What is up, man? I'm having a hard time. That's what's up. I'm having a hard time with this blind flight. Oh, gosh. I'm just trying to figure these things out. You know, one thing that glass number 1 could be, I just had a crazy thought. I recently tasted the J. Henry & Sons. Here's the problem. Okay. Sorry for all the dead air. When you go through a blind like this, glass 1, you taste it, you formulate an opinion, and it's hard not to base the next glass off of what you believe glass 1 might be. And that doesn't mean a bottle guess. It could just mean stats, type, distillery. You start guessing based on that for glass 2 in a comparative sense. That can really screw things up. And so if you know that you're prone to doing that, I think we probably all are, it would behoove you to go back to glass 1 and really make sure you have a decent guess on it. And the more I smell glass 1, the more I smell something that reminds me of a craft whiskey. And I have to think to myself, what reminds me of a craft whiskey that also reminds me of like a Brown-Forman profile? And that's J. Henry & Sons Anniversary Blend, the one I just picked up. Sarah could have poured that. And she knows that I said that about the J. Henry & Sons. So I'm not trying to get into her head to figure out what she would have poured. But this could be that J. Henry & Sons 2022 Anniversary Blend. So, okay. I'll put that in parentheses. Back to glass 2. Smell, again, that little rubberiness to it. But I believe it to be a bourbon. Maybe I was just taking really big sips on this. Man. But the yeastiness in glass 1 feels like Brown-Forman. All right. Glass 2, I have one more sip left. I got to figure this out right now. That amount of cinnamon is so shocking to me. It feels turkey. It feels willet. What else has that amount of cinnamon on it? Blue Run, High Rye. Proof on that, I'm going to say 130. Age, I'm going to say... I'm going to say 7. I thought it was older, but I'm going to say 7. I'm going to say bourbon. I'm going to go unfinished. And I would say that about the first one also. Distillery. Michter's. That's the best I got. Let's go to glass 3. Tommy D, what's up, dude? Hello, beautiful. Well, was it Aiden earlier that told me I looked like Freddy Krueger? So, beautiful. I will take over looking like Freddy Krueger. So, thanks, Tommy. All right. No, not solo. Let's do both of these together. There we go. So I'm going to show you. Actually, I have to move this over so I can show you what is going to be in glass number 3. Okay. So let me get my cursor over this so I can full screen. Okay. There we go. I'll turn my head, pull this up, show you what's going to be in glass number 3. I'm going to taste this in just a second. There, I think it should be full screen now. All right. I will take this down, turn this down, turn my head back. I think we should be good. So let me get into glass 3 now. Okay. Why does this smell like the... I'm telling you guys. Maybe Sarah poured something similar in the first 3. Interesting. This has that kind of brown formany thing to it as well. Maybe not, actually. I think my freaking nose is broken tonight. Remember, guys, no spoilers in the chat, please, 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 about anything that I show tonight. No spoilers. Don't talk about the bottles I show you or the opposites of those, whether you bought one yesterday or whatever, anything. All right. This is definitely a lower proof whiskey. I'm thinking around like 90 to 94 proof on this. Heavy chocolate on this whiskey. Really, really good stuff here. I'm at like 94 proof. I am not going to do well on this flight tonight. I can already tell you guys that. Anyways, back to glass 3. That's just good. That's really good, solid. Man. Tommy D says you might want to change your name to Fido, belt or no belt. Go, Dan Shook. Shook doesn't stand a chance, dude. Come on. What are you talking about? Dude, I'm gonna fold Dan Shook up and put him in my pocket. And that's coming from a guy that's 5'7" and a quarter. Dan's much larger and much scarier than me. And he's getting 8 good folds before he goes into the back pocket. And then I'm going to sit down on him. You know what I mean? I don't even know if that was an insult or if that was like a sexual innuendo. Guys, I think I'm just broken tonight. I'm just going to move through the rest of this blind flight because I'm totally sucking. For some reason, there's a wild turkey vibe to this glass 3. Or like Four Roses. There's a young-ish wild turkey vibe to it. Like a low-proof young turkey. Yeah. I have to say that's a turkey product. I have to say it's a bourbon. I have to say it's unfinished. I said 94 proof. I'm going to correct that to 100. And because it's turkey, I'll say 101. Because I can't think of anything else proof-wise around there that it would be. I am actually going to say that because there's a little nuttiness, I'm going to say this is the Turkey 101 12 year, which means corn and then rye and the mash, top 2 grains. All right, that's what I got. Age on the, yeah, I called it all. So there we go. Glass number 4, last glass of the night. All right. So let's bring this into the stream and get the focus on the test card. There we go. We get the focus. And now I will pull back glass 4, which looks to be of a lighter color. Last one in this blind tonight. All right, so I'm going to get this set here to flip up. Okay, there we go. And I'll put my cursor here. Turn the head. Lift up. Now I'll try to full screen this. So you should be seeing... I feel like I'm not on the table. Am I on the table? Yeah, okay. I can feel that I've stopped on the table. I will unfull screen. Move this down. Please, again, no spoilers. Please, please, please. And now, glass 4. Final one of the flight. Much lighter color. Just straight up gold. It's a Scotch. And there's some sherry in this. Refill sherry. Refill sherry. Yeah. Little nutty, you know, the Oloroso sherry nuttiness in this. But given the color, I can't imagine there's a lot of first fill in here. This could be, what could this be? Tamdu. Maybe a Glendronach. 12? 15 would be maybe a little more sherry forward. This feels more basic to me. There's some spice that hangs on there. A little coffee on the back end, actually. That's nice. Some spice that hangs on, but still a pretty low proof. I would say this is probably 43%. Yeah, but on the nose, this is that golden raisin profile from Refill Sherry. A little white cake. There's actually some leather notes, and when I get leather notes on what I presume to be a Refill Sherry Scotch, I would say that there's a decent little bit of age to it if I'm getting leather. This might be older than I think. I'll check the chat here in a second, guys, but I just want to get through this. So, proof on this, I think the spice makes it feel 46, but I think the whiskey itself is actually lower than that. Well, did Sarah pour me the Bunnahabhain that I had earlier? She could have. The Bunnahabhain 12. This could be that Bunna 12. No, I think it's more of that Highland malty backbone to the sherry finish. Or sherry casking. Might not just be a finish, you know. I don't know. All right. I think on this, I don't think it's that old. I said white cake. I'm going to go 12 years. I'm going to go 43%. It's a Scotch. Finish. You could either say sherry finished or there's some sherry blended in here. So I'm just going to list sherry, question mark. What else do I need to say? Mash bill, I'm going to say 100%. Malted barley. And the last things I need are distillery and bottle guess. I think this is... part of me wants to say Glendronach 12. I'm just going to say it. Glendro 12. All right, let's do the final reveal of all of these. Let's start with number 4. Let's start with the one I just did. 12 years, 43%. Scotch, sherry in the mix, finished or blended in. 100% malted barley. Glendro 12. Damn. I will freaking take that. I will take that. Yeah, it's back there. The Glendro 12 Oloroso Sherry Cask. Is it double cask? No. She didn't write everything. It's Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso finished. But let me see the ABV. $43. It's $43. So I think I got everything on that. Yeah. That I will take that because my Scotch guesses recently have been close but not quite there. So I'll take that. Okay. What did I drop? I dropped my test card. Okay. Let me keep going on this reveal. Let me get to the chat in a second. Oh, I shouldn't look at that. I should get back here. So, glass 3. Here's where I was. I smelled it, and I said, this smells like the rest of them. It smells like Brown-Forman. And then I said it was really chocolatey. And then I said it was 94 proof. And in my head... At this point in the flight, by glass number 3, I thought Sarah, glass 2 broke the trend, but I thought, well, you know what? Maybe she is going all Brown-Forman on the first 3. And so I guessed a lower proof Brown-Forman in my mind at first, and I was thinking maybe this is like a Jack 10. Or, I mean, my mind was really on Jack 10 because I was getting chocolate-covered bananas. But then... I got something in this, a lot of cinnamon, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe this is turkey. So I said turkey bourbon, unfinished, 101 proof, 12-year. So I guessed it was the turkey 12-year export. And it's the Jack 10. Okay. So in my head, I was with it, and I completely went against the grain. I said 94. I thought Jack 10 was 94. It's actually 97. So either way, that wouldn't have been right. But 2 years off of the age, 4 proof points away, because I guessed 101 at the end. It is a bourbon, or Tennessee whiskey, but it is a bourbon. Distillery was wrong. Mash bill, I think, was correct. Corn rye. And it's not finished. So that's decent. Glass 2. This one, I was confused. I thought this could have been Brown-Forman. At glass 1, I was pretty certain was Brown-Forman. Glass 2, I was like, maybe it's still Brown-Forman. But I got this rubber note. I also got high proof. I hedged my bets. I said 130 proof, 7 years, bourbon, unfinished, Michter's. I didn't even have a bottle guess. Oh my God, are you serious? So I said 130 proof. It's 129.3. And it is my guess for glass 1. So I think she's got not Old Forester, but a Brown-Forman trend going here. So I'm 0.7 away from proof. I said 7 years old. These are typically between 5 and 6 for these Old Foresters. Close. So there's a rubbery note to it, which I've never gotten before. Bourbon, correct. Unfinished, correct. Wow. Wow. And glass 1. At first, I thought this was Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. And then I corrected to thinking it was an Old Forester barrel strength pick, which was in glass 2. So I said Brown-Forman. Is it Jack Daniel's? What I settled on. This is an Old Forester single barrel strength. Corn rye in the mash bill for top 2. 129 proof. That's hilarious because this Old Forester is that. I said it was a 6-year bourbon, unfinished. If this is Jack single barrel proof, I quit. Okay, I'll take that. It's the Woodford Masters 118.4, most recent release of the batch proof. I said 129 proof, so no proof points in Matt Madness technically. I said 6-year. That's not age stated. 6 years probably not a bad guess for the Woodford Masters Collection batch proof stuff. I was right that it was Brown Forman, but it was not Old Forester. It was Woodford, so that's the one that I was missing in my head. Corn rye in the mash. I think that's correct. Top 2. Not terrible, but not great. Scott says you let the proof on the first one mess. Yeah, the proof, it drank over proof, and the Woodfords always do. They always drink over proof for the batch proof ones. Aiden says, trust your instincts, my son. I said 120 proof at the beginning, and then I crossed it out and said 129, so that was closer. But I never once thought Woodford, and I'm an idiot for that. Tommy says, stop, pour the scotch out. Tommy, you are slammered, bro. I think Tommy D is hammered right now. I'm gonna keep going up here. Tommy says, I really want you to crush the coemption. He means competition. Tommy, bro. You are hilarious. Okay. All right. So Cohen says Woodford is Kentucky Jack Daniels. Yeah. Because so Woodford uses pot stills, right? And actually, I've never toured Woodford, but I think they are pot stilled, right? I guess they don't say on their bottles, so I guess I should look that up. Let's see. Woodford pot still. Let's see what Google says. Yeah, the copper pot stills are the pride of the distillery, make the Woodford Reserve bourbon very special. Okay, that's what whiskey.com says on Google. So the pot distillation from Woodford gives it this farminess, this funkiness, just a little bit, and different releases from Woodford have different levels of that. So, for instance, the most recent historic barrel entry in the Masters Collection has a ton of that funkiness. Regular Woodford even has it. The double oaked, because that second barrel is in the mix, it kind of wipes out the funkiness and just brings in just heavy, fruitiness and oak from that second barrel. I think what I'm trying to get at is that the Woodford pot distillation, adding that farminess or that almost crafty funk, is similar in my mind as the Jack Daniels distillery character, which has that weird, not farm funk, but it has that what Matt calls the red wine finish. And these things separate them from Old Forester. Tonight I got confused by that. And the first one I said, I think it's Jack Daniels because I'm getting this weird note on it. That weird note was, in fact, the weird note from Woodford. I settled on Old Forester because the proof felt high, and I thought, well, if the proof's high, it's either a Jack single barrel strength or it's an Old Forester pick. It ended up being the Woodford. The second one was the Old Forester pick. Last was the Jack 10-year. So I was right in my brain. When I was going through this, I was like, these all feel similar. They were all Brown Forman. And the last one, this Glendronach 12-year, I can't believe I guessed this out of thin air. I'll take it, but it was frankly a lucky guess. There's something strong about the Glendronach profile. It's just meaty. It's Highland, but it's meaty, and the way that the sherry casks that they use interact with that distillery profile, there's something in my mind that sticks with that. But anyways, I'm going to jump off, guys. congrats to the giveaway winners tonight. Will Molnar and Paul Graham. Thank you for hanging out. There's 34 of you left at 1:19 a.m. East Coast time, which is crazy. Thanks for jumping in on a late night live stream. I appreciate it. And I'm going to get some sleep. I got to play concert tomorrow night. And before that, I'll probably wake up at like 11 a.m. It's going to be a late one. But that's okay. It's the life of a musician / whiskey drinker online. Thanks, guys. Wow, Cohen. I did not consider, and Sarah did not know this. There's no way she knew tonight that Glendronach was a Brown-Forman product. I forgot about that. There is no way she... It probably says that on here, right? Imported by Brown-Forman. Wouldn't it say that on the tube? Or maybe on the bottle? There's no way Sarah knew that. I'll ask her tomorrow. She knows the Woodford Jack Daniels Old Forester connection. Yeah, on the bottle it says Brown-Forman, but I don't think she would have looked at this bottle before she looked at the tube. Crazy, if that's the case, though. All right, guys, cheers. I'm out. And the last sip will be what? What do I have left? Not much. Glendronach 12. All right, see you guys next Thursday. I will be live. And hopefully some more content out before then. Night.